Kimberly Crail is a wise woman, herbalist, and educator who came from Wall Street to the weeds. Casey's mission is to teach folks how to heal themselves using whole plants and foods as medicine. You can heal yourself with simple and inexpensive methods, foods, and herbs. And now, here's the host of Weeds of Wisdom, Kimberly Crail.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Weeds of Wisdom. It's Tuesday, August 19th. Can you believe August is almost over? Kids are back to school. It's crazy how fast time seems to be moving, at least for me. So I'm very excited. The guest we're going to have this evening is a beautiful woman that I had the pleasure of sitting next to at the Full Disclosure Now conference. And she truly is what I would call a light being and a light worker. And so this week, it'll be all about frequency, sound, and vibrational alchemy. So I'm very excited to have Syren with us this evening. And yeah, so also wanted to let you know that just as a reminder, the medical system business model doesn't really have an incentive to make you well. In fact, it's just the opposite. So just know that, you know, a patient cured is a customer lost. So I really do encourage you, if you have any interest in making your own herbal medicines right in the comfort of your own kitchen, that you really consider my 3-part, 5.5-hour class, Introduction to Your Wise Healer Within, and herbal medicine. And so you can actually sign up for that here. There's a QR code for you there. And what you actually get is all of this great information. So I encourage you, please, because this class, the biggest part of what it does is help you decide, right, on what course of action to take. And in this environment, there's so many different conflicting voices and choices. It can be very confusing. So besides giving you lots of great herbal information. So our guest tonight, Syren Wind, she is a multidimensional frequency transformer, light code holographer, ancient tech bridge anchor, and author. Syren utilizes galactic frequencies, tones, geometrics, and holographics, as well as light codes and languages in various modalities to cellularly upgrade, restore, and activate DNA. Clear, open, unify, and remember our true nature as divine cosmic beings of light. It's through these multidimensional frequency sessions, offerings, and creations, Syren utilizes her voice and vessel as a tuner and precisely toned tool, as a bridge, anchor, transmuter, and transmissioner of off and on and off planet high frequency advanced encoded technology. She offers one-on-one group sessions, courses, and also works with the sacred grids, magnetics, earth ley lines, and intergalactically. I love that. And her website is intergalacticenergyhealing.com. And before we really get into it, I also just want to share with you these beautiful book offerings that Syren has on her website. Actually, this is on Amazon. And I purchased one of these, and it's really astonishing because I love the way your work really activates the right hemisphere of the brain, which I talk about ad nauseum. And so this is a little piece of her art off of her website. And it really does leave you speechless. Language is completely inadequate to describe art in my experience. And she also has beautiful sound offerings. These are just a few of the albums available on her website, which is intergalacticenergyhealing.com. So without further ado, let me bring on Syren Wind.
Hi,
Syren.
how are you?
Great. Wonderful to see you again.
You too. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be with you.
So it was wonderful actually getting to absorb your work because I sat right next to you. So I was constantly perusing your various artworks and designs. So before we actually get into, I really want you to explain to the audience what those are and how those are created. But before we do that, I always am interested in people's stories. So maybe you could just tell us a little bit about your story, you know, where you came from, what your childhood was like, when you really first recognized your intuitive gifts, for lack of a better term, and that sort of thing, to lead you to where you are today.
Absolutely. I noticed them actually quite early, before I was even using words. I was making sounds, and I had felt that the sounds I was making were changing the energy. I was playing with the actual sounds of my voice as a baby, and I was fascinated to hear myself tone and then feel how that was changing my environment. Because I could tell right away when I was small, I was in somewhere else, like, you know, the way I would call it as a child, somewhere else, in a place that had different energy. And so I started very young with toning and humming and just making different sounds, and watching the energy, the shapes and the geometries of the energy change through my voice, because I could see that. And as I started working with art, I was told around 3 years old, but you know, I don't necessarily know the age, but that I would layer colors and shapes and sounds, and I would make sounds as I was looking at what I could perceive were the sounds I was making in the art. And I was just fascinated by creation, you know, creating what I was perceiving, what I was hearing, what I was seeing, or I would create a drawing or a piece of art, and then I would stick it in the sink and I would wash it with water, and then I would layer it again. And I was like, oh, this is just changing the whole energy of this thing I just made, but it had components of what was, and then the layers of the new, but it still was part of the evolution of that. I mean, I wasn't describing it that way as a kid, but I was just like fascinated with how I could do that from a blank sheet of paper, from absolutely nothing. I was like, this is amazing. Where are we? You know, like, what is this, what is this place that we're in, this physical place, you know? And so it began that way. And I would spend hours a day with art and with sounding, because I could feel the correlation between how I was enunciating, you know, pronouncing words, or how I would feel different. And I actually got this is kind of different, but I got a thesaurus as a child. And I thought it was the most fascinating book, more than like a classroom book. I was reading the thesaurus, looking at the rhythm of the words, and I could feel the energy of the words. So I started writing with different words that said they meant the same thing. So I would pair words together, and I was fascinated with writing alongside with the art, because I could feel it amplifying what I was saying. I was like, well, if I use this word this way, that means that, but sounds like this, or certain words that started with the same letter. I was looking at the harmonics and feeling what it was doing with the energy. So it was like this blend of the harmony of the word, of the geometry of the art, well, the colors too, the color and the geometry of the art, the shapes, and also the sounds. And it always felt like what I was exploring, what I was tuning into, was a knowing of having to do with why it came to Earth. You know, it's like, this is important. This is important to really dive into, and hours a day that way, where I would just intuitively feel like, what is that doing? How do I feel when I'm doing that? And how am I perceiving everything shift when I'm doing that, or watching other people shift when I'm doing that? So,
Wow. You know, it reminds me that we're remembering our connections. And as children, we have a lot more access to it, I believe. And many of us, I believe that fellow Terrence Howard he said that he actually remembers being in the womb. And so many of us become conscious and have memories before others. And so gives you, it's funny, I don't think I woke up until I was 47. And I often wonder, but then again, I had so many different life experiences that gave me wisdom in other ways. So, but it's so fascinating. So you were actually in this more holographic place, not really a linear, dualistic 3D place. You were in this more energetic space, if I understand correctly.
That feels very true because I didn't recognize the linear lineups of where, people would say, the left to right, or this 1 to 2 o'clock thing, those kinds of structures were confusing, but the actual energetic space that I was in the spiraling flow, was where I could feel the fluidity of what was actually happening. And really, the holographic nature of our true existence. It was like it was constantly reflected back to me in everything I was doing. So when I would see those things or hear those, linear references, I was like, no, 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 yeah, that's cute. But, there's what I'm feeling is actually what's true.
Right.
Because I could feel it actually in motion and creating, and I could see through the light what it was doing, even in the symbols, I could see how it was in motion. And a 1 to 2 and an A to B wasn't really moving. It wasn't really doing anything.
Right. That's so fascinating. I did watch that Terrence Howard interview with Joe Rogan. I think it was like 3 hours long from several, maybe it was last year. And it was fascinating to me because he's talking about math and how our math is all wrong because it's based on this straight line Euclidean geometry. And he's like, no, it's all about the curves and the space. And so, and I also think that it's not the way that we generally perceive or are taught to perceive. In fact, that sort of perception is discouraged in a lot of kids. Would you agree?
Oh yeah. Well, I think it takes away it dissolves the structure of what's taught when you're actually honoring what's felt and what's seen, because that's really when you're a child, especially, is when you come in knowing right away. You can see it in a baby. You can feel it in a baby when you see their light that they already know, and it's like any transition into school linear land is where you can kind of see that diminish because there's that structure of programming. And for me, in the energy of what was told in the classes, I could feel that there was nothing in there that was, well, I just, not nothing, but there wasn't a lot of energy in the stories and the classes that I felt like had truth to it.
Right.
So I knew to honor what I was feeling, that there was truth in that, because I was watching it in the organic creation of everything.
Interesting. So there's a question from the audience. Are you a synesthete? Maybe I didn't say that correctly, but I don't know what that means, but maybe
I
you
don't
know what
either.
that means?
I never heard that before. I'm not sure.
Maybe it's, I don't know. So I think that the point is that we have, and in my tradition, the way we describe it is our soul force, which is that eternal part of ourselves. Oh, here's what it means. It means see music and hear color. That's what a synesthete is. Do you do that?
Not particularly. Like I if I hear something, I'll have the multidimensional seeing and perceiving, where I'll feel it, I'll see it, I'll hear it, and I'll sense it all at the same time, but I'll also feel which layer it's coming from. Like
Mm,
I can sense all these different aspects to it, but it's beyond just the sensories. It can go into the other dimensional planes. So I don't know if there's like a term for that, but that's how I've always experienced it. And
hmm.
it's been more finely tuned as I was, coming into realizing, well, what is this exactly I'm tuned into, and how can I fine tune even further so I understand some of this information, because it's on so many different layers. You got to really, so you can make sense of your reality. It's like we're still in this, um, you know, uh, this body and this vessel and this physical in this form, and
Mm-hmm.
needing to integrate all these things I was sensing and seeing, because otherwise what kind of an experience will you have to integrate that? You'd just be in outer space. You have to know you have to know, like, how to, like, what do you do with all this information?
Right, right. Well, and I think there's also the point that so much of the eternal wisdom is really beyond our physical brains. And I was watching this movie on Netflix, The Gods of Egypt. It was pretty cheesy, but there was a great line in there from the great thinker of the Titans, if you will. And the mortal says, you say you watched creation be born. Well, how could that be? Like trying to figure it out logically. And the god turned to him and said, well, if I were to tell you, your brain would liquefy and run out your ears. So, there is this concept of the mysteries. And our left brain, our logical part of our brain, really dislikes having that, that being comfortable with that idea of it being a mystery, and just allowing it to be in that holographic way that the right sort of hemisphere holds it. So interesting.
Yeah, well, and that's why I feel like as we're evolving, and this is, just sort of an general, overview of something to parallel it to, is that we're receiving the information in layers as we're evolving. Because otherwise it's too much to, integrate and make sense out of as we're
Yes.
here. It's
Yes.
giving a baby a trigonometry book and expecting them to figure out how everything inside of it functions. You go, I don't want this. I want a stuffed animal or something.
Right. Right. And we do. It's I always think of it as a spiral. There's no beginning and there's no ending, and we learn as we have more life experiences. And I think that um, that's why the elders have always been respected as wise, because they have more life experiences, because it's difficult to, words really don't teach. If you understand what I'm saying, it's the experiences that really teach us. Um, so anyway, so talk more about what you're doing, and maybe I don't know if you can kind of demonstrate how you do what you do, or I would certainly be interested in that.
Oh, sure. Um, well, how I work if I'm working in a session one-on-one, with somebody, is tuning into the frequencies, you know, in a multifaceted aspect, if you will, as a multidimensional being. So I'll feel into the energies and work with sound, which is through my voice, tone, light sequences, structures, codes, language, which is light language. And as you just mentioned too, it bypasses the linear thought when you work with frequency and you work with, all these tones and layers. And what I do is work with the layers of all of these aspects at once, through all the layers, energetically, cellularly, through the DNA, physically, patterns, ancestral, all of it. And there's so many more I could mention, that's evolving, all these aspects of how intricate yet simple we are at our very core. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I'm doing is, and this is just a general, of course, depending on the person, is tuning and toning with my voice and then working with my hands to change the energy. So feel very subtly what the energies are doing or ready to shift out of or into, and then I'll transform them as an accelerator while I'm toning with the sound, the tone, and the light. And I'll give an example so it makes more sense in a second, but just to kind of give sort of a explanation before the demonstration. And but so it depends on the person on what aspects of sound or toning or even light language are used, but it's usually layers and layers of that throughout the session. And it's throughout the whole body. It can be remote, it can be in person, still the same effect. And then, say if we were to do a sound activation, which I also do, say for a group or a meditation, there's an intention or an energy. So then it has an overall intention or energy, say, harmony or, primordial origination codes, like to return to purity, pure state. That would have a generalized energy. And then that would be what would be offered through the sound, the tone, and the light.
Got it.
So whatever state someone is willing to allow within themselves in that moment will be what they receive. But it's also like the packets of information, if you will, is once it's offered, there's still the ability to receive it later. Say it's not yet that moment to open the envelope, to open the envelope of information, but it's still within someone, just as their DNA is still within them, right? But when the right moment becomes to activate and implement and integrate and install, if you will, or anchor in to embody all of it, of oneself, then the bloom arrives with the petals, and then they open, because you're always a flower. It's just when will it open will be when you open the envelope or receive all the information.
I love that. I love that. It really reminds me of the ancient saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will present themselves, will arrive. And, wherever you are at in your path will determine what sort of energy work is appropriate at any particular point in time, and without judgment, I would also say. In my own case, I used to work for the world's biggest junk food company, and now I'm an herbalist and I teach herbal medicine. So there are a lot of things that we learn and grow about as we travel our paths of life experience. And what I was also wanting to say, and we have a break coming up here in a couple of minutes, but what I wanted to say also was that in our tradition, we consider life force to be the force that animates the physical body, the vessel, and soul force is that connected to is the source part of ourselves. So, and it's eternal. And so the life force really is the one that's driving fear and those negative emotions, because it only has the body. And when the body ceases to exist, it also ceases to exist. Whereas the soul force is eternal. So it's a bit like the Fool in the tarot deck. It's like, okay, I can walk off the edge of this cliff, no problem, because, hey, I'm an eternal being. And sometimes there can be a bit of a tug of war there in terms of, the life force and the soul force. And I was just curious about your perspective. We got 1 minute before we go to the break.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, that's what I actually feel like with our accelerations right now, with the energies, the pure tone energies arriving, is we're being required, it's not optional anymore, but required to surrender into the moment and let go, to let go of the construct of, the plans and the expectations, and just allow oneself to express and be in that, whatever that is, and that means not being in that structure, but allowing the soul force, the soul song to be that, even if that means having to let go of everything we've ever done, people changing jobs, relationships, places they live, all these different things. It's like, well, surrender.
Right.
So.
Surrender. I love that. We're going to talk some more about that right after the break with Syren Wind, our guest tonight. She's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Unlock the mysteries of the spirit realm with the new book, Meeting Wallace. In this channeled work by renowned psychic medium Larry Costa, the reader will delve into the profound wisdom of his spirit guide, Wallace. Together, they share the transformative journey of harnessing psychic powers from the celestial plane. Discover the extraordinary psychic gifts that have empowered Larry on his path, and immerse yourself in a thought-provoking and awe-inspiring read. Meeting Wallace is a groundbreaking endeavor, and it is a perspective seen through the eyes of a spirit guide. Discover the wisdom of the spirit realm alongside actual photographs of ghosts and spirit guides. Get the book Meeting Wallace by Larry Costa at Amazon.com.
The Onyx Network presents a health and wellness spiritually based brand of hemp-derived CBD products made by Hopewell Farm in Harrogate, Tennessee. We apply our Cathara energy work with all of our plants and products. Our products made in small batches with only 2 ingredients of pure hemp, full spectrum crude oil, and coconut-derived MCT oil. Third-party lab tested for potency and legal THC levels with 6 strengths of 1 ounce oil to choose from. Know what you're buying and get what you pay for from Hopewell Farm. Applied directly to a specific area, Hopewell Farm topical salve in 1 ounce and ½ ounce sizes made with pure hemp crude oil, comfrey extract, and all natural ingredients. Find the Hopewell Farm link and coupon code on the Unnext Network website at unnextnetwork.com. That's unnextnetwork.com.
Hi, welcome back to Weeds of Wisdom. And I'm Casey Kimberly Crail, also known as Casey the Wise Woman. And so I would encourage you, if you are watching on whatever platform you're watching on, please like and subscribe, whatever platform it is that you're watching. Also, just be aware I have my platform, Ancient Mother Wisdom, on Rumble. And I have some free videos of how to make herbal remedies there that you might find interesting, as well as a bunch of past episodes. So our guest tonight is Syren Wind, and we were talking about how things are shifting, ascending. We've heard a lot of different descriptions. I think a lot of us feel this energy around us. And I'd be very interested to see and experience maybe a bit of you working. And I'm not exactly sure if you can do that in a live format, but I would love to experience that.
Oh, sure. Thank you for asking. I could do a sound, like a sound activation of sorts, if you like. And I would select an intention or an energy, unless you have one that you feel called to request.
Hmm. I think that my request would be healing from mind control. That's
That
the
sounds
I see all of these people that were taken and mistreated to be healed and to still access their gifts and be even more powerful as they move forward in the future.
beautiful. Yeah, I will offer it as and also as an aside to that as well, a clearing and release for anything that does not serve or anything that is no longer serving as well. So may we begin?
Please.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I can't hear you. You're muted. There you
We
go.
don't need, that was so beautiful. We don't need language.
That's right. We're returning to telepathic communication, and we all have our own soul languages. So even if, say, my language sounds different, right? Our harmonics come from our heart and our soul. So that's how we feel and know what purity is. So we don't need these barricades of all the different languages. We can just sense, feel, and know
Wow.
what's true.
That was really, thank you. That was beautiful. And I knew what was happening. You know, it was like this, you know, my heart knew. My brain wasn't really understanding so much. And yes, you've perfected your voice and turned it into an instrument. Yes. And that is our divine instrument.
That's exactly what I was feeling when I was little, was that divinity. Like I could feel what pure is, you know, and even though the surroundings of the world or the earth was so-called wasn't, but I was like, if I sing, I can sing purity back into the earth. I just keep singing. I'm gonna keep singing, you know. Just gonna keep singing.
It's beautiful. No, I think in fact, I would love to, we talked about this before the show. I would love to work on a project that involves more singing and for our communities, because that particular, I think a lot of us are, we talk about breath work, and when you can combine it with sound and frequency, it is incredibly powerful in terms of accessing those Akashic records, or whatever it is that you want to call the all that is and ever was and ever will be. And so really love your work, and really want to make sure people hear this work. It's so healing.
Thank you.
Just, what I observed was many people at your table, flipping through the various designs, and then they would really resonate with one or another of them, and that was beyond language. So love that.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about the light languages? I know that in your art, when we look very carefully, you can see that is incorporated in there. They look to me, and I'm a big I read the J.R.R. Tolkien series 100 times when I was a kid. So to me, they look very much like Elven, um, language or runes of some sort. It looks familiar to me. It seems familiar to me. Again, I don't know what it's saying, but it has an odd familiarity for me. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, thank you. Well, the codes that I write typically, I mean, the intention and the frequency within it will vary depending on what it's intended to do, because they're each very specifically strung, where there's strings of information to do a certain function. So, say for example, a line of code were to anchor an energy or be layered on a piece of art, it would have an energy similar to like what I had just offered. There would be an energy associated, a frequency with it. But each code has information inside of it. So, but a lot of it is origination codes to return and restore into pure state. And that's why many times people see the writing and they'll say, well, it's really familiar. It's that pure state before this life, before any lifetime, back to primordial origination, eternal energy of pure tone essence, and then through the frequency and the intention of whatever the design is, or the information or the geometry. Sometimes I put the code in geometry shape with templates. It's to echo and amplify the divine blueprint templates that are within all of us as pure divine beings of light, wherever we have originated. We all have different, say, systems we've been on and in and go on when we go to sleep, right? But at that core essence, we still are all that pure tone source, origination, primordial, where we're returning now, energy.
Right. No, that primordial, that really hits the nail on the head. This is our absolute essence. This is, the origin, if you will, for lack of a better word. And I think that's what you refer to when you say pure. Is that close? Okay, yeah. So,
yes.
All right. Perfect.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to me how the alphabet and language in general has essentially changed the way humans use their brains in a lot of ways. And there's a real resistance to going into this other side, if you will. And for better or worse, the right hemisphere it's responsible for all those things like intuition. It's the holographic side, intuition and creativity and music and art and things like that. But more importantly, the holographic, it takes a holographic picture. It sees the whole of everything. And unfortunately, that right side of the brain has therefore been labeled feminine. And because women seem to have that direct connection intuitively a little easier than men in the human form. And so as a result, there aren't a lot of men who really want to, connect with their feminine side, right? So I think that we have superimposed certain words on the concepts of, I prefer yin and yang or light and dark, or, if you want to make a polarity in terms of how the two parts of the brain function, so that we can feel more comfortable moving into that hemisphere. There's a lot of resistance. People don't want to go there. And so what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I have so many thoughts on that. What I first feel is what's happening now is divine union, and that's within every soul. And what that means is all the left, the right, all the dark, the dark, the light, the good, the bad, all these thermometers, this or that, hot or cold, black or white, shadow, all these terminologies are still wholeness within ourself, is bringing them into union, which is whole, and divine masculine, whole, left side, right side, whole. We bring everything into the center point where our pillar is, where we're centered with source. We can be all of the facets, masculine, feminine, black, white. Because whoever said that dark is good and light is bad, or the opposite? I'm saying it backwards, kind of intentionally, I guess, but it's because
good. Yes.
Right, because it's like, well, no, but somebody said that, just like somebody said this word means this thing and someone agreed, so they put it in a dictionary. These languages are made up. So if we look at it down to that very core, we get back to like light language, soul language, heart language, sensation felt from the soul and the heart, which is, by the way, in the very middle, the heart. We get into the middle neutral point, we'll know by feel, and it's not going to matter what language or what boundary or what country or what planet, star system it's from. We'll know because we can hear it, we can sense it, and we can feel it. And that's too why I think I know why a lot of these other things are falling away through the rise, fall, simultaneous collapse, is because we have to, and we're required to get into that middle, neutralize any of the other stuff and realize that the language was created, the alphabet was created for separation, just like the 1 to 2, the 3 to 4, this quadrant to that quadrant.
Right. Yeah, no, it's limiting for sure. Very, very limiting. I mean, describe the color yellow. I dare you. You can't really do it. So, so light language in many respects could be considered heart language in a way.
Yes, it's heart language, it's soul language, it's universal language. And I take it a step further even and say it's a source language, because the pure total essence of us expressing ourselves in any type of frequency harmonic would be source expressing itself through itself as itself,
Right. And we also know, or maybe people don't know, that the heart has neurons. In fact, that's where the very first neurons form when we're developing in human form. And there's a whole very fascinating field of study called heart math. And it's a way of checking in on what frequency your heart is saying about whatever is happening. And I love that because we're so in this measure everything, and make sure we put the decimal points on as well, and no rounding, and we have to have all these words. And I agree with you. The truth is generally the simple. It's simple but not necessarily easy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think, well, that easy or hard goes back to the like black or white or good or bad. It goes into the polarity realm of like, which part of the oscillator is it vibrating at? But then if we come into the middle, it's simple because it just is.
Right.
Like,
right. And that's the highest frequency is when we're vibrating at that frequency. And the fear and anger and rage and division and chaos is a much lower vibrational frequency. And I think one thing to point out, because I think there's a lot of fear in our communities, or at least I feel it, and that there's some threat of some sort or another. And I believe that people need to understand and really embrace their eternal nature. And because I really do think there is a shift coming, I'm not convinced that we'll really need these 3D physical bodies after the shift. But hey, I don't know. The jury is out on that one. And so I think moving into this more heart light space is probably good preparation.
Yeah, it's essential. Absolutely.
So what would you say, you've been doing this work for a long time, and I know people are going to ask, so let's talk about the full body suit tattoo.
People always ask about that. I don't understand that.
Well, I mean, people are going to wonder, so
I know,
I'm
I
just
know.
kind of, might as well, let the elephant, acknowledge the elephant in the room.
Sure. Well, what I guess
But I'm curious about it.
what would you like to know about it? Like what was the inspiration or?
Well, yes, exactly. I mean, I have a couple of tattoos myself, and I know, how I was inspired to receive those, and I was wondering what that was like for you.
Uh, well, really, the way that I perceive all of I call it layers of evolution.
Mhm.
Is what I perceive like all my skin adornments, if you will, but the actual like spark of creation and to the point of where I felt like I was finished, um,
Mm.
ended about 2006. So I haven't actually gotten anything since then, but I've done a massive amount of my own evolution probably from 2018 till now. So I guess that's
Mhm.
kind of the interesting part about the visual aspects of my skin when I haven't really gotten anything new in quite a long time. But
Mm.
most of what they are sacred geometrics. There's different flower of life patterns repeating with
Mhm.
cosmos codes. There's layers of actual codes that I've written.
Wow.
So the codes are overlaid over the sacred geometry, and then the sacred geometry is layered over the codes, and then there's codes on top of that to amplify. Similar, I don't know if you can see what's behind me, but the way that I
Mhm.
layer the drawings is layers of the evolution because it amplifies the meaning. Each code is, again, a function, so it'll amplify
Right.
each other. And
That
then
makes
whatever,
sense.
so if there's like I mean, I'm talking about the painting now, but if there's a space in between, it may not even be a space. It might be a negative shape with another shape that made another shape. But even that too has different information because it's making layers of
Right.
different shapes. So it's like one of those planned, not planned things where
Right.
even with that, there's information that I haven't even decoded because I'm like, no, that's when it's done, and you move on to the next moment. And that's how it felt, where all the information that I needed for my suit is complete. And originally when I did start was because of the density. I was like, it's so dense. I mean, quite honestly, and I used to draw on myself when I was a kid. I would draw on my pants, on my clothes with symbols and geometries because I was like, the air is so thick. I need like a suit on. And that's what
Right.
I was essentially kind of, maybe not even kind of, but within subconsciously telling myself like, hey, just recode your skin and it'll assist with the density. And then all of a sudden, at
Ah.
some point, I was like, "Oh no, the suit is finished. Like my outfit's done." So
Oh, all
yeah,
right. Well, see there, that was very informative. Essentially, you are your body is code,
yes.
and you're not some biker chick with a Harley. Sorry, I mean that'd
No,
be okay
yeah,
too.
yeah. I mean that's okay too, but yeah, I don't even have a bicycle. I mean, that's good, but
Right.
yeah, I
All
know
right.
it's.
So we got a
Yeah, go ahead.
we got about a minute left, and there's one question. Do you think we're moving to 5D right now?
Well, I feel like some of us on the planet in human form are beyond that, holding frequencies to assist others to rise to that. And I think there's many of us that are already there. And I'm saying us because collectively we're all doing the work, and there are people that are in it, in that frequency, and able to hold it and consistently hold it, that are helping the others rise. And there's some that are amplified beyond that even, and bringing in other, other codes and other information, really accelerated information, and all of it is contributing to how fast everything is unfolding. Oh yeah, there might be like an inkling that's, so-called that there, but that's filtering through in the recalibration. So
got it. All right. Well, listen, we're just about out of time for this week's episode, but wow, this has been so fascinating. Please go to Intergalactic Energy. Wait, is that how you say that right? Intergalacticenergyhealing.com, and you can get Syren's work. And we are not going to be broadcasting next week, and I'll be off. So, Syren, it was wonderful spending time with you. What wisdom. Thank you so much. And to get the transmission in a non-linear format was absolutely stunning. Thank you so, so much. Really appreciate you.
You're most welcome. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
Bye for now.
Thank you.